I'm going to introduce now this morning's activity, which we're so excited about. It's been a lot of work, and we're sure it's going to work. So I put my name in parentheses here because I'm totally spoiled, as you'll see throughout this talk. So Joey did the work. He wrote this tutorial. A bunch of people have helped him. We've gotten lots of feedback from the leaders of these groups who've each run this, and it will be awesome. So this is stuff Joey said to tell you about the tutorial. So the software, if we sent around a please install this on your machine, but don't worry, if you didn't do that, there are copies on the memory sticks on these sheets up front of both the R and PLINK installer and binary files. So still no need to download those from Friday Harbor's frail internet. And what we have for SNP data are the directly genotyped SNPs. So you run a GWAS, you put a DNA sample on a slide, and that gets put into the machine, and the machine reads off, at this particular location, I had how many flavor A and how many flavor B, a 0, 1, or 2 number, and it really only does how many flavor A or whatever. But anyway, that's the raw data are the directly genotyped SNPs. No imputation in this data set. Why? We didn't want to kill your machine, so we wanted a compact data set. So this is the directly genotyped SNPs. It's only from people with appropriate consent. So the consent for sharing of genetic data happened after ADNI 1 enrollment. So I had to re-consent people, which is a major hassle, and they did it, and not everybody has the right forms in the right place to share all of the genetic data publicly. So we're taking the subset of it that we do have the right consent for, and of European ethnicity. So not everybody was European in ADNI, just the vast majority. So those are the people we have. And we have them only from ADNI 1, not ADNI Go, ADNI 2, or ADNI 3. And all of these are conscious choices to avoid crashing your computer. So we want you to have the experience of touching genetic data and having it work on your machine, we really hope, and to know what that's like, with the knowledge that when you write a paper about ADNI, you're not going to want just the directly genotyped SNPs. You'll want like the HRC imputation, so 36 million instead of 500,000. But it's the same principles. And I saw a hand. Shannon, did you want to say something? And apparently we need a little more here, and only one of each pair of the siblings that happen to be in there is what it says right here. It's in a very small font. And Joey worked carefully with Kwangsik in the back. Kwangsik, please raise your hand, who really helped us with the genetic data, and we're really appreciative with that. So the group in Indiana are the genetics core for ADNI, and it's awfully convenient to have them on speed dial. So the plan is to perform quality control and perform a GWAS with the phenotype covariate file that's on these memory sticks in the front of the room. So the phenotypes in the GWAS, as I understand, what's in there is the ADNI mem, the ADNI exect, and what's that? There are some more things in there. I think that the script in the tutorial is for ADNI mem, right? And people might want to be aware that some of the phenotypes have interesting shapes to them, and may want to steer towards ones that don't have interesting shapes for their first try of a GWAS. And beyond the GWAS, stuff Joey told me to tell you. So on Box, there's a file with additional ADNI data. So I got an email that looked exactly like this that says, Dan Mungus has added you to a collaborated folder on Box. And I have this helpful hint here where there's an arrow to the view folder icon. And if one clicks on that, yes?
Your email is like that because you already were a member of Box?
I had to log on. I'm not part of UC Davis. And yes, I already had a Box account on this, which I had to click on the I don't want to understand the new Box experience. And then I'm not at 2015, I'm in 20. I don't know what we did last year, but apparently not this. But clicking on, eventually, with the right things, you'll navigate to here. And then there's a thing called ADNI1 data in there. And in that is a series of files that looks like this. So what this is a bunch of file names that are all the same with a SAS format, an SPSS format, a DTA format, which is data. If you need it in Excel, this is a CSV, this is an Excel version. All of these are the same data sets in 19 different formats, so use whichever computer software package you like. We have a code book in 2 different formats as well. And the code book is really important because you're going to want to look at your data and you want to look at your data labels, right? And in that, this is a chunk of the code book now. And wanted to point out that some of the things in there are things we've created. So the ADNI-EF is the executive functioning score that you've seen papers here published on using. The ADNI-MEM is likewise the memory score we developed before. And then we've got these new things. M, E, L, and V from my talk yesterday are calibrated differently from ADNI-MEM and ADNI-EXEC. So the newer generation, and what are these now? These are the draft version of the EPAD language composite. These are not published yet. They are not ready for prime time, but they're close, right, Joey? They're close. Another week, he says. So we're really, really close. And so if you're doing something that's dependent on those variables, get excited, but not way excited quite yet. And we'll update those and work with us. It'll be no particular issues. And this is just a small chunk of the ADNI data that are available. So if you are somebody who takes to this tutorial like a duck to water, and you're just like, wow, I'm bored now, because that went really fast and I understand completely what happened, and I'm ready for the next challenge, you can make yourself a new phenotype by processing these data, put it where it needs to go, modify the tutorial, and away you are running your own phenotype with ADNI-1 directly observed genotype data, which is really cool. So it should be straightforward to create a new phenotype file. So the thing that's big in this genetic stuff is the genetic data itself. And the way PLINK works is that's the whole file, is just the genetic data. And that thing's big. And it's relatively small, given that it's only so many directly genotyped SNPs and only ADNI-1, but it's still pretty big. That's the only part that's big, though. The phenotype and covariate file is a different file. So it treats those two things differently, and you can swap out different phenotypes for the same genetic data, and it'll work great. You should know that I get spoiled tremendously. I have a team of highly qualified professionals who do great work with data management, which is at least as important as data analysis. And Elizabeth, who's back in the office, and Laura and Joey have done a lot of work through this whole year getting ready for this particular exercise. And I'm pretty immune to it now, because they're just working and I don't even have to do anything. It's amazing. And you get spoiled too, and it should be pointed out. So I have a grant called ADNI Psychometrics, where we're touching and loving the ADNI data. And we have Danielle from UC Davis on our payroll, and she's part of the ADNI Coordinating Center, so we get our questions answered pretty well if we have questions about the ADNI data set. And yeah, the ADNI data are publicly available. You could get to this point on your own, but we're really providing you with a lot of the love that we've applied to the ADNI data over really many years. So please take good advantage of it and be appropriately appreciative to the people who've made it so easy to use. Although it will still have its difficulties, like this next point, which apparently was so important I had to include it twice. The imaging data especially may be profoundly not normally distributed. You may want to consider that. And then the last point is have fun. I think one of our hopes with this tutorial is, yeah, it's genetic data, but it's just data. It's fun. It's so cool, and you'll be learning new things, which is great. So that's my sort of intro to what you're doing this morning.